Hi everyone, so we are now at video number 24, and as I discussed in video number 23, I will be writing a actual task 1 on a line graph, which you can see on your screens right now. And then before I go on with my writing, I just like to say that I think I am gonna make some improvements on the cluster that I discussed in the last round. So as regards to that, so I will begin the cluster by discussing this starting point at 1800s, and then I will jump to 1920, where we now see a slight increase of rates of world population. And then from 1920, I'm gonna add this 1945 figures. This is somewhere during the end of the war, so this is where we now see the baby boomers, as they call them, but we shouldn't be mentioning that because that's not really part of the line part of the information shown. And so from 1945 we can see a noticeable spike, and the fourth cluster is now going to be at the point where we reach the 6 billion mark over here. And so that's at the turn of the century and at the turn of the millennium. And cluster number 5 is now going to jump into the 7 billion mark, which is where we are right now. So 7 billion mark, and then we will segue to where we are right now, which is at somewhere at 7.5 billion at 2020. And then, so how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 points in the line graph, and then we'll jump to the peak at somewhere towards the middle of this century. So that's gonna be slightly over 8 billion, and then we will jump towards the end. So that's 8 points. So the reason why I decided to do that is I just realized that in a previous video we only had something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clusters instead of 8 points in the cluster. So the fear is that the essay might not reach the 150 word count. So that's the reason why I decided to add 3 more points in the cluster. So here goes, guys. The infograph reveals world population trends beginning in 1800 with projections towards the next century. So that's my introduction. Maybe we can mention these as well. Population figures are presented in millions, we'll stop there. So that's our introductory paragraph, and then we'll now go into the overview statement. So remember the overview that was discussed in the previous video. So overall, it is apparent that despite, let's just make this bigger, a steady increase in the first century, figures experienced a sudden spike towards the latter half of the survey, with projections seeing a peak and a subsequent decline towards 2100. That's the overview statement over there. Alright, so if you notice in the overview, there really is no citation of any specific figure, and that's really because it's just an overview statement. So any citation of specific figures should be made in the body paragraphs. So the body paragraphs now will be divided into 2, so maybe we will include this plus the 1920 figures over here, and then the 1945 figures over there. So that will now be the first part. Now I think this is the 1950 figures. I'm sorry, 1950, where the noticeable baby boom trend began. All right, so that will be all those 3 points will now be the first body paragraph. To begin with, in 1800, world population stood at a flat 1 billion people. Remember the nominal trapper that was discussed in the last video? This figure then rose, let's have an adverb, marginally, towards the decades, but by 1920 a minimal increase can be observed, where population breached the 2 billion mark. And then we'll now jump to the 1950 figures. By 1950, another observable spike is noted, and population figures had, so this is now the past perfect tense, had exponentially risen. And then maybe we'll just mention the 3 billion mark, risen to 3 billion by 1960. Alright, that's the end of the first body paragraph. And then let's now proceed to the second body paragraph, where we will now jump to the 6 billion mark. Okay, after less than half a century there, so from 3 billion in 1960 we already saw a doubling there. Population had doubled once again, breaching the 6 billion mark towards the turn of the new millennium. This trend continues in the present, with over 7 billion people in the world today there. So in 2020, alright, so we are already at this point, over 7 billion. And then we now have 2 points left in the cluster. So the tensing now changes. By the middle of this new century, experts predict population figures to peak at 8 billion people, but the trend, this is now the future perfect tense, will have now seen a reversal, where population will decline notably, ending the century back at there, the 6 billion, back at the 6 billion range there by 2100 there. So that's it, that's the end of the essay. So let's see how many words that took. Hopefully it didn't take too much words. So 195, so we just exceeded the word count by 45 words. That's something we should be proud of. That means we didn't take too much time to describe the line graph. and that will leave us with a lot more time for task 2, which is ultimately the more important task. So I'm just gonna fit that together in under one frame there. Okay, there. So that's the entire essay. Alright guys, so the next video number 25, is now going to be discussing bar graphs, academic task 1 writing, particularly bar graphs. So that's it. Any questions you may have, just feel free to pause it in the comment boxes below, and I will answer as soon as I can. And don't forget to subscribe because more videos are coming. And thank you everyone. I'll see you in the next video.